Right, and we are back live with another edition of PB Betting College Football Podcast here with Mr. Paisley. I know it's a little late in the week, jumping in conference championship week. Both of us had a little bit going on this week, so a little bit delayed, but we figured we'd go through some of these games, some of our best bets, and just close out the regular season, Paisley.
Yeah, we've got some conference championship games. Wanted to get to just touch on them. We'll highlight the big ones, the big three. Then we'll also touch on some of the smaller games too. We'll give out some picks at the end. I think we'll hit every game. So, yeah, it's exciting. Little apologies for the listeners out there. My voice is a little down, a little under the weather. It's that time of the season, but we're battling through for our fans here. It's just been a crazy week, but yeah, we're looking to get just a shortened version out to you guys this week, later in the week. So hopefully you get to listen to it. We're releasing it here Friday afternoon, games Friday night and Saturday, but should be a fun 2 days of games.
Yep, and we'll be back on Sunday for probably a bigger, longer edition of the podcast. That one will probably be north of an hour, just going over the playoff, what they decided, who got in, who got out, go over, some maybe bowl games, just kind of an outlook on Sunday night. So stay tuned for that. Could be Monday, pending schedule, but we'll get that out this weekend. But Paisley, biggest news of the day for me, Matt Campbell, looking like it's a done deal going to Penn State after an absolute dumpster fire of a search it has seemed over the last couple of weeks. A couple of their biggest names didn't pan out. They tried to get the coach from BYU, which I didn't think was a great fit to begin with. So I'm really preferably would take Matt Campbell over him. No disrespect, but that was just my opinion. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, of course, they only signed 2 guys on National Signing Day, so they're going to have to build their 2026 roster with a lot of transfer portals. We've seen teams really dive into that. It hasn't worked for a lot of teams, but I think the biggest thing, at least for me, is you can kind of take a breath out, focus on the portal, focus on getting the new administration in and starting to rebuild this thing. And I don't know how much rebuilding it will need. I mean, really we'll know probably in September of next year for what the on-the-field product looks like. I want to have some optimism, but I'm really not sure where this goes. But biggest news, Matt Campbell finally being hired at Penn State, or at least close to a done deal. Not 100%, it looks like, but they're in contract negotiations. So we'll see.
Yeah, I know you were just saying about the BYU head coach, and that one was very close to being done, and that didn't happen. And I agree with you. I think that would have been a bad hire. So I think Matt Campbell's better. I think everyone around the circles are saying, solid hire, good hire. Maybe not exactly what Penn State was looking for early on the process. If you would have told them this, when they first fired Franklin, I think they would have been disappointed. So, and I get fans are trying to, drum it up. This is their guy now. You got to, talk up your guy a little bit, and you got to only look forward and into the future. But like you said, they kind of botched this whole process and maybe set them back a couple of years. Like you talk about that recruiting class, maybe you have to go transfer portal now. Just really behind the 8 ball with a lot of things going into 2026. But and I think this was going to be a slower build, even with any new coach coming in, no matter when they hired them. So now you're kind of setting yourself back a little bit. So like you said, maybe interested to see how quickly they get off the ground. I was just never a huge Matt Campbell guy, and I'm not even with the current news and everything. I remember going back to 2019. I looked it up today when Notre Dame played Iowa State in a bowl game, and he was like that new up-and-coming coach, and he was the young coach, and everybody was after, and NFL teams. Buzz was going all around. Well, that was 2019. Now we're 6 years later. He was still at Iowa State. Was he turning down jobs? I don't think. I think he would have jumped out of the first place out of there because Iowa State's not, the best program in the country. So I just think he had opportunities, didn't really pan out. Nobody was really chomping at the bit to get him. But now he goes to Penn State with a new opportunity. Obviously, it's going to be better resources than what he had at Iowa State, so it's going to be interesting to see that. But, from an outside looking in, I just don't really see the huge upgrade or, everything like that. Now you got the AD with the leaked audio, which was a hilarious listen. If you have time to listen to that, it's really funny stuff. But I'm very interested to see where this goes on the product, on the field, like you said. But I don't think if they want to take that next step to championship level from 9-10 wins to deep playoff runs, I don't know if Matt Campbell's that guy. So I have my reservations with that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't criticize you for saying that. We really don't know. Matt Campbell's never been in a spot where he's had the resources that he will now at Penn State. He didn't have that at Iowa State. Some of the top lines is he's had some success where he's gone. He seems to have done better at Iowa State with the resources, taking worse talent to 6-win, 7-win, 8 wins team. A similar thing that kind of Franklin did at Vanderbilt, really. So kind of similar in that aspect. We'll see if it's the guy from Penn State. I don't know. I mean, we'll know in a couple of years, of course. I'm just excited to have a coach again. It's nice to have, somebody take responsibility now, I guess. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting with Campbell there. And hopefully, yeah, it does pan out. We'll hear over the next week. I get the deal done, because if this falls through, I really don't know where we would go from here. So
Yeah, and then just lastly too, with the Terry Smith, I think you got to bring him up. But I know a lot of guys on the team, a lot of alumni were really clamoring for him, and he did a great job the last couple games. So interesting to see that fall out. Will he stay on the staff? I heard his buzz maybe at UConn or somewhere else, like a lower level job. I think that'd be good for him. So it's gonna be interesting to see now. They got the new head coach, like you said, it's all good. But now what's going to be the fallout with the Terry Smith and stuff like that? But Penn State's been at the headlines a lot this offseason, the last couple of months. So it's going to be very interesting to see where this program goes next year.
my initial thought is Smith is gone, either head coach at UConn or Virginia Tech, honestly, joining Franklin's staff. I don't know. I don't see him sticking around since he didn't get the gig, which personally I'm okay with. I know some parts of the fan base wanted him, but
Me
I
too.
don't think that
Yeah.
was a good decision to roll with. So I'm
Right.
happy kind of where things stand. We'll see. I mean, in the next couple of years would be the test, but good point all around. That being said, we might as well get into some of these games. We're only going to cover three here, three the kind of bigger ones, and then we got our picks, of course, where we'll probably touch every game. But Paisley, we might as well start a huge game here in the Big 12 championship. This is going to decide a playoff bid, could potentially have catastrophic impact for your Fighting Irish if BYU were to get the win with the late committee change, putting Alabama ahead of Notre Dame. That was that could be a pretty big change at the end of the day if it knocks a team out. So not sure what will happen, but if BYU wins this game, it's going to cause chaos. And yeah, it's going to be nuts. So the spread, Texas Tech minus 12.5. It's a rematch game. BYU didn't really show up to the first time these two teams played. Will it be any different here, Paisley?
Yeah, this one I honestly don't have a strong feel either way. It's one of the only conference championship games I'm really, tied between. I kind of would lean BYU in the points, but I'm honestly probably just going to stay away. Just have a rooting interest, like you said, for Texas Tech to just win outright, hopefully, and give Notre Dame a better chance. And we'll touch on Sunday with everything with the committee, but this committee is stupid. Like, I think there's going to be some major changes coming up in next year, hopefully, that we could. I don't know if it's expansion. I don't know if it's get away from committee members that don't even watch college football. Like, I don't know what it's going to be, but there needs to be some change here. But I think BYU, people are clamoring for them now out of nowhere, and they're like, oh, they should be ranked higher. But we'll see in this game how they look, but they really haven't been super impressive all season. You got to take into account the conferences too. The Big 12 and ECC, like we touched on in previous podcasts, haven't been that great. So, if you're having close wins or scraping by, and then the one team that is good, you don't even look competent against them, are you really going to be a top 10 team in the country? Not really. But I would lean BYU just because of the whole situation with the BYU coach now returning, Salaki or whatever his name is. The players kind of rallying behind that. They know they need this for the spot. Texas Tech just playing for a bye, basically. If they lose, they should still be in, you would imagine. So and that's the thing with these conference championships. That's what makes it so hard. And it's hard to really break these down because the motivation is not the same now. It's just a mess. So I think BYU is going to come out swinging. I think they'll give a better effort than they did at Texas Tech. So that's why I'd lean with them with the points. Maybe lean to an under 2. This one played really sloppy last time, and BYU couldn't really move the football. But their defense held up okay and held Texas Tech out of the end zone, but got a lot of field goals. It was like a 25-6 final or something weird like that. So kind of lean the dog and the under here. But just with a lot of these conference championships, that's why I'm kind of leaning towards more the lower end schools, and we'll get to them in the group of 5. Like, I like those plays better because I think both teams are going to be going at 100%. But with some of these matchups, and all three we're talking about here, the SEC, Big 12, and Big 10, the motivation or, the 1-2 isn't really there from both teams 100%. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I think both teams will still play hard, obviously. But I'm hoping for a Texas Tech win for my sake. But I think it will be a little bit closer, I think, than people are giving it credit for.
Yeah, and it is tough to beat the same team twice in college football and in any sport, really. You see a lot of NFL games, they'll split in their series, and These two teams are certainly far from that, but similar aspects will be tough to beat them twice. And yeah, like you said, the motivation factor could come into play here because BYU, as things stand, would be on the outside looking in. Of course, if they win this game, they have a guaranteed spot because they'd be the Big 12 champion. They're ranked, so they'd have no problem getting in. And then to your point, the committee last year has shown that there is no penalty for losing a conference championship game. You have stuff to gain and a bye and moving up, but you can't fall back. At least that's what we've seen in the past. So will that happen this year with Texas Tech? How will this affect the seeding? How will this affect Notre Dame? But yeah, for kind of all those reasons, I do lean BYU with the points. It's a lot of points. I do expect them to fight hard. I mean, they're going to treat it like a playoff game. It is. Maybe they get some momentum going here. But Texas Tech is also a really good team. I mean, they've blown out their last couple opponents, riding high, still off the big BYU win. They beat Oklahoma State by, 1,000,000 points when they played them. So Texas Tech's been rolling. I do think BYU, though, is going to look a little bit better than they did in that first matchup. So I'm going to take BYU also with the points here.
Yeah, with these conferences, because obviously the Big 12 conference wants as many teams as they could get in. The ACC wants it's every conference wants that, and people are saying now there's conspiracy theories online. I've been doing a lot of deep diving in my off time, and will they give calls to BYU here because they want BYU to win to represent two Big 12 teams? Sure. There's just so much noise and stuff going on. So I'm hoping both teams just play clean, play hard, and we could have a nice, fair, even match here. But this one is a huge, huge factor on the playoff that probably way more important than any of these other conference championships games. So I think all eyeballs will be on this one to start off the day tomorrow because this will have big implications.
Yeah. Big fan of fairness here on the PB betting podcast. We always like to see things pan out, honesty, truth. Moving on here, SEC championship game, always usually, the highest rated, biggest game, which not quite the case this year with number 1 and number 2 going at it in the Big Ten, but always a good one between these two, Alabama and Georgia. Georgia sitting 11-1 atop of the SEC. We know the story. We've watched this team all year. They've had a couple close calls. They've been finding ways to win. They found themselves back atop of the mountain after it looked like it was Texas A&M's conference for the taking. And then you have Alabama, who's been, started down with the horrible loss to Florida State, rose all the way back to the top of the charts, lost the game against Oklahoma. They struggled against Auburn, but we kind of knew that would be a battle. So I don't want to penalize them too much for that. But then they move up in the rankings, which is interesting. They jumped Notre Dame after the performance. And then here we are for another playoff game. The biggest question in this one, I think you said it last week, Paisley, is Alabama's really just playing for, the uncertainty is if they lose the game. They probably in, but, you're not certain if you're Alabama. So you're going to have to give your A game here for them. Spreads practically a toss-up. I think it was very close the first time these two teams played. It might be the same spread, actually. Georgia -2.5 in this one.
Yeah, I think it is the same spread, actually. So, yeah, you're paying a little bit of a premium. Definitely the number is swaying in Georgia's direction. Opened up around a pick. A lot of Georgia money early here as we get closer to the game. But I kind of lean that way, too. I think there's just a lot of factors on the Georgia side. And the only one that's kind of scared me is just they can't beat this Alabama team. It's just there's some crazy numbers even going back to when Saban was still there, 5-10 years ago. Georgia just for some reason does not match up well with Alabama. They just, lose close games or just don't come out great to start the games. So I wouldn't be shocked if Alabama jumps on them early here. I would actually lean the over 2 in this one. I do like a decent amount of points, but like Georgia as the main play here. I just think the spot too. Talk about that Auburn game, and we kind of mentioned it. I thought Ty Simpson got a little banged up in that game. He was getting hit hard. They played some really tough games down the stretch, and Georgia played Charlotte the second to last week and then had a snooze fest against Georgia Tech. That was a 16-9 sleeper type of final in the same building. They're going to play this game. So Georgia's definitely more rested. They have more to the advantages, even on the field defensively and offensively. I think even looking back at that previous matchup, I think a lot of people would say Georgia should have won that game, honestly, from a totality of all 4 quarters. So if they could put it together here, if they have the motivation, they could lock up a nice bye if they win this game. Georgia, Alabama, though, obviously fighting for their playoff lives. And that's where this committee thing, and again, we'll get to it more on Sunday, but there's a close game against Auburn, but then they move them up. And I was saying, I think Alabama should have been above Notre Dame a couple weeks ago. And now they're trying to retroactively do it. This whole Miami thing, now they're trying to squeeze it down to the last thing. It's is it just a reality show at this point? They're just trying to get the most views and clicks. It's just annoying. But yeah, I think Alabama, even with a loss, still should be in. But I wouldn't be surprised with this committee and how it's going. I don't think you should get penalized for playing conference championship games and losing. But this committee is so all over the place that I could see them maybe putting Alabama back and either sliding in both Miami and Notre Dame with a loss here. Depends how the game state goes, I think, too. That's another thing, which is not really too fair, too. But if Alabama gets blown out, I think they're definitely out of it. If it's a closer game, maybe they give them the nod. But, yeah, I think Alabama's just really beat up now. I don't know what happened to Ryan Williams, too. He's supposed to be one of the best receivers. He has had a no-show the entire season. So I think Alabama just has a lot of problems going on. So even if they lose this and get into the playoffs, definitely be a team I'm looking to fade here. Just not really a team that's ascending and hitting their mark here late in the season.
Yeah, great points. And if the committee does penalize an Alabama for losing, I mean, that would be just they're trying to self-destruct from moving them up, then to move them out. And of course, Notre Dame is sitting in the middle of this. So even if Notre Dame wasn't in the middle of this, of course, people are going to say, well, Notre Dame doesn't play a conference championship game, and that will be the comparison. So not only would they say that anyway, this time it literally might be Alabama versus Notre Dame versus a loss that Alabama had in the SEC title. Like that would just be self-destruct for them. But like you said, it really wouldn't stun me for how the season has been going and, the random shuffling. I mean, every year it seems that the committee does maybe one or two things that are a little, questioning it really just over the totality of the playoff committee, even when we had the 4 teams. So we'll see Sunday, big game here. On the actual game, though, I'm going back to the well. I think Alabama finds a way to win. I think Georgia's a better team, but Alabama has had their number, and I just don't until it happens. It's like my old pal James Franklin in Ohio State, Paisley. Until I see it, I'm not going to pick it, and I'm sticking with Alabama here. They beat Georgia every time they play.
I mean, you've been spot on with Alabama, I think, every game, whether you picked against them or on them. So it does make me a little worried about it. But I'm hoping Georgia could finally break through here and cover the 2.5 here and win the game outright. But, yeah, like you said, I think it's going to be – you still don't feel comfortable going against Alabama, even with the struggles they've been having and everything. So, I mean, I'm very interested to see how this game plays out, though.
Yeah, if Alabama was 6-6 or the whatever the story, I still may take them against Georgia just because until I see it. But and I know Georgia has beaten them over the last couple of years once in a while, but nonetheless. All right, moving on. We got by the way, quick little fun fact. This is probably my favorite stadium in the country here, Lucas Oil Stadium.
Wow.
I was there last year for the Big Ten Championship, Oregon versus some other team from Pennsylvania. Great stadium, great atmosphere. We got Indiana, Ohio State, number 1 and number 2 in the country. Ohio State was supposed to be here. Everybody knew they'd be here. I think everyone picked them to be here. Most people did. Well, actually, you didn't, Paisley, but most people did. Indiana, though, Indiana didn't mean to say it, but anyway, Indiana is, of course, we know the story. Kurt Cignetti, 12-0. They've just been blowing by expectations, and I'm going to be against them again here. I'll just say it right there. I'm taking Ohio State -4, but here's Indiana's chance. This is their biggest game. I mean, in school history, it's a meaningless game because win or lose, it might not matter. But if they win this game, I mean, college football's shattered. We have Indiana knocking down number 1 Ohio State. They would close the season 13-0. They'd win a Big Ten championship. They'd be going in the playoff, the number 1 team in the country. I mean, what a world we'd be living in. This is huge for them. And for Ohio State, I think it's just, another year, another game for them. Business as usual. Great game. Ohio State, though, they're laying 4. Totals 47.5 in Lucas Oil.
Yeah, I was hoping nobody would notice the previous take. Hopefully they forgot about the preseason pod we did with my Ohio State take. But thankfully we're not too big of a podcast maybe to get that on the freezing cold takes or anything like that, because that was a complete whiff here. But yeah, Ohio State turned out to be the best team in the country. It's really banking on that Texas win week 1. And so I blame Texas a lot for that take as well. But for this game particularly, like you said, Ohio State's been really good, really dominant. We recapped that Michigan game, a little shaky start, but then they really cruised and played really good, handled adversity on the road really well. So that really showed that they are true championship contenders and definitely the number 1 team, deservingly so. But for this game particularly, My favorite play in this game is the under, actually. I like the under 47.5. I think it's going to be a grinded out game. I think both defenses are going to dominate here. You look at Ohio State, they got a little test last week against Michigan, but we talked about that schedule. It really hasn't been a lot of close games. So we really haven't seen Ohio State with a close game late into the third or fourth quarter. And that's why I think everyone's hoping. I think they're hoping it's a close game here. So Indiana does have the track record with it. Not playing, the best football of late. They had that good win against Purdue the last week of the season, but there was a little clunkiness. But then they just ran all over Purdue and really cleaned them up in that aisle, which I don't know if they're going to be able to run as successfully, but that's where you could attack Ohio State. And Indiana is a good physical running team. I think they could match Ohio State's physicality. Ohio State coming off the Michigan win that they were desperately needing. I think that, like we were joking, but actually might be true, was like bigger than the championship, bigger than their Super Bowl. So now you have to, win a Super Bowl and then play the next week at a game, like you said, they don't really need it. They haven't been here in a while. It's been since 2020, someone said, which is pretty crazy to think. So obviously they want to win. They're going to try and get the number one overall seed, but Indiana definitely has the home field advantage. There are going to be a lot of Indiana fans there looking to support their team. I think they need Mendoza to have a good game for the Heisman. So I'm kind of just banking on those factors for this one game sample. Now, if they play maybe get in the playoff or semifinal championship, I think it'd be a different story. Now, I wish this line was a little higher. It kind of opened up 5.5, touched 6 a little bit. Now it came crashing down. So definitely a lot of support in Indiana. So that's where I'm going to take Indiana plus the 4. I don't feel confident about it. It's not one of my favorite picks, but I think just for the game stake and everything like that, I'm hoping it's a close game. I think it's going to be a very, very tight, close game. Red zone's going to be big. Can you hold teams to field goals, touchdowns? NFL type style game here with a total in the high 40s. So I think it's going to be like a 21-17, 21-24 type game. Really hard to move the football here. I think both defenses are going to come out to play. Offense might be a little shaky early on, maybe look first half under as well. But I don't know. I don't know if I could see Indiana winning it outright, but I think they keep it close enough. And then, maybe they get the win. I think they have a lot of motivation. They've been wanting this game for a while. Signetti definitely wants to put a stamp on it, like you said, and shake the whole college football, which this would shake up a little seeding as well, because then no one's really expecting Indiana to be the number 1 seed. And then everyone's saying, oh, the number 2 or 3 seed's the best seed to be this year. Well, now that could get flipped on its head because everyone's trying to avoid Ohio State. So, we kind of brought it up last week against Michigan, how I'm not like completely sold in this Ohio State team. They definitely proved a lot last week against Michigan, but I think this is going to be a great test. And I think Indiana could give them a little bit of a game here, more than Michigan can. And then we'll see what happens. But if Ohio State comes out and dominates and they cover the 4 easily, okay, then don't play the playoff. Just give Ohio State the national championship. But let's see if they can now go up against a legit contender here and give Indiana's best fight here. So I'm hoping Indiana can pull off the upset.
Yeah, I hope it's a good game. This is a game that we've really been talking about ever since Indiana got the big win at Oregon that not a lot of people thought they would win this year. They've looked, pretty convincing since then. I agree with most of your points. The only thing I think that Ohio State has the advantage is I think they're going to just be able to throw the ball a little bit more. I think they're going to be able to get the chunk plays, the dynamite plays, like they call them. And not to, make everything about Penn State, but when Penn State played Indiana, I mean, they were able to move the ball. They were able to throw the ball. It was a very big surprise. Backup quarterback. I just wasn't thoroughly impressed with Indiana's defense in that game. And I think Ohio State with their quick score abilities, like where they could just strike you in 10 seconds. Now, Indiana has a similar style offense, actually. They have different players completely, but they have a similar strike quick offense. But I think Ohio State's going to have a little more success, a few more big broken, plays. And that's why I think later, the longer this game goes, I think similar to the Michigan game where I think they're going to be able to pull away here. Part of me hopes I'm wrong. I of course want to see a good game here, but this is a big test for Indiana. And I'm still not quite there on them, giving them the credit. And I'm very high on Ohio State here going to the playoff.
Yeah, and that's definitely one thing with Indiana. Their pass rush is really good, and they rely on like negative plays and hitting you in the backfield and sacks. So if they can't get that, we'll see how Ohio State's offensive line is going to be a great matchup to watch. But that would be the one chink in the armor that Indiana's defense hasn't been, great all season. And now how will they face against an elite attack? So that's a lot of storylines going in this one. It's going to be really fascinating to see.
Moving on, we got some picks here going into the conference championship week. We'll touch on some of these games quick while we make the picks. We got 4 Friday games. So if you're listening on Friday and catching it as the games are going on or before, we got some picks for you. And then of course, hopefully you'll listen for Saturday. So Paisley, what is one of your first picks of the week?
Yeah, I'm going to release the cards too on Friday too, so check out the Twitter page too before the Friday games and Saturday. But first pick, I'm going to go the Kennesaw State, Jacksonville State over 60.5 in Conference USA. This one will be Friday night at 7, I believe. I just think both defenses are not that great, and both offenses are going to have great time moving the ball, really running the football well. Jacksonville State has a great running back who's the best in the conference. I think he's going to run all over Kennesaw, but I think Kennesaw has a good passing attack that Jacksonville State's not going to be able to defend. So I'm seeing a lot of points in this one. This might be my favorite pick of the weekend with a limited sample size of games. I just really think you're going to see a ton of points in this one. With the home field, I think it's played at Jacksonville State. It's not a neutral site. So good weather down there. I think it's going to be a fun game. A lot of back and forth, pretty crazy. And there was a lot of yards in the game they played this year, but it wasn't a lot of points with some failed red zone stuff. But I think there's going to be a lot of touchdowns in this one. So load up a little over for the first game on Friday night.
Yeah, that's awesome. And big shout out, by the way, to Kennesaw State for, how quickly they kind of got their program up and running really over the last, few years. And now, being able to compete for a conference championship, a great season for them, 9-3. My first pick, and I think I saw it here on your card, Paisley. I didn't see it until now, but North Texas, we're both riding with North Texas. I've liked them all year. I think you have as well. They had that one letdown game that was surprising, but outside of that South Florida blowout game, not really blowout, but just a weird game, ton of points. They've looked very impressive since. I just pulled up their schedule. They have scored 50 points or more in like 9 games. It's crazy, or close to it. So this is going to be a fun game. These are two really, cool, fun group of 5 teams. The winner presumably will be the group of 5 representative in the playoff. Can they make any noise? And, I'm not quite there yet if they can knock off a team, but will be a fun game to watch. Big for both these programs. And I'm riding with North Texas -2.5. I think they'll get it done.
Yeah, that's all stamped. That one as well. Really like North Texas. Riding them all year. I really do like them in this matchup. I think it's going to be a ton of points. Kind of like the over as a bonus play if you want to tag that one on as well. But yeah, I'm going to be riding the mean green as well for myself. And then for my second pick here, give a little 2-pack here in the MAC championship. I'm going to go Western Michigan, about 1.5. You could do a cheap money line. I do like them to beat Miami of Ohio. I just think they're a more complete team, better team. Miami of Ohio lost their quarterback. He just kind of quit on the team halfway through the season, prepared for the NFL draft, even though he's not going to get drafted. So they're starting a true freshman. He hasn't been the part. So I think I was really surprised this one's around to pick him. So I like Western Michigan in that one quite a bit. And then also as a little bonus play, like the under in that game. I think it's about 43, just because of, like I said, I think Western Michigan has a really good defense that they've been the best in the MAC all season, going up against a freshman quarterback that's been struggling against lesser defenses. I think Miami of Ohio, they're more of a defensive-led team, run the football, special teams. So I think it's going to be a grinded-out game. But I see Western Michigan coming out on top, covering the 1.5 or cheap money line. And then also I like the under in that game.
I love it. My second pick here is James Madison -23.5. Might be my only championship that I get right. That my preseason picks. They've looked good all year. They finally got ranked in the playoff committee rankings. There's a scenario that they could still get in, and we'll get into that probably in the next pick, actually. But I think James Madison's going to show up. I think this is a big game for them. I think they'll truly believe they have a chance here. I think they're going to come out fighting. I bet on James Madison a few times this year and didn't quite hit it with the spread, but I feel like one of these times you keep pulling the lever down on the slot machine, Paisley. One of these times it's going to hit. I think James Madison finally will get the blowout win here and beat Troy by a million points here.
Love that analogy. That's a great tie together. And I actually do. I'm on JMU too. I did place that bet earlier today. And then for the ACC championship, I'll go one direction in this case. I think you're going another direction, but I like the over in the game, in the Duke-Virginia game, 57.5. I think Duke's defense is terrible. They are so bad. Even Wake Forest moved the ball on them, and they don't have a great offense last week. I think Virginia's cooking right now. They're playing some really good football, so I don't think they'll have any problem scoring on this Duke defense. But then I do think Duke's offense with Mensa quarterback, they can't really run the ball in Virginia, so that's going to be a struggle. So I think they're going to have to pass. So I think you're going to see a lot of passing from Duke. I don't see Virginia getting stopped a lot. So down in Charlotte, give me the over. I think this will easily eclipse the 57 mark, be into the 60s.
No, that's a great analogy. Good points there. Think we're going to see a lot of offense in this game. Duke 7-5 shouldn't even be in this game. I mean,
Yeah.
we could just start there for this. Could absolute throw chaos at the committee if they win this game, and if they're not ranked or not ahead of JMU, they would not get in even as a ACC championship. They're the champion. So absolute chaos could happen. I feel like everybody's picking Duke in this game. It's just the way that the national personalities are talking. So I'm on the opposite end. I think UVA will get it done. I think kind of how you laid it out. I think they're going to be able to move the ball, score a lot of points. Not a people are talking, like nobody's really talking about UVA in the playoff that much.
Yeah.
But I think we're
It's
going to
true.
get it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're going to get it. I think they're going to win the game, and that's all they need to do. So give me Virginia -4. Not my favorite pick, so I will say that. But for those reasons, I like them to beat Duke. I feel like everybody's just writing Duke in, which is kind of crazy. But I think UVA gets done.
Yeah, and just one point on this, which is crazy to think about, but I think Duke has the most power going into this weekend because if they win this game and we see two group of fives get into the playoff and then they get blown out, I think the committee will have to change what they do, or everything might
Yeah.
get changed. Might go to 16, might go to computer based. Like it might be a complete over. We might see divisions back in conferences. So it's funny to think, but I was just thinking about this as we're talking. Duke might have the most power if they win this game outright to change college football on its head going into next year.
Yeah, that's a great point. Could really shake it up, and it honestly might be for the best. So maybe we should be rooting for Duke for
Yeah,
monument
honestly.
for some change. But that's a great point. My last pick here, I'm just throwing Ohio State on here on my official card. You'll see if you look on X, it's posted on the page on the sheets. I'm going to take them on the first half also. So I'm going to double down on the Buckeyes -2.5 first half, and then -4 overall. All right. Well, that's pretty much our episode here. I know it was short. Finally got it done here in a half an hour. We will be back in just a couple of days, literally here on Sunday, breaking down everything that happened on conference championship weekend. We'll be going into the bowl games. We'll be doing the playoff analysis. Should be a better, longer hour type segment, but going to be a great week. Hopefully all your teams win. And yeah, we'll see you on Sunday.